All right, I think we're getting to be about live. What's up, LCA? I'm Mike Bernier, hosting a webinar today. We're going to be talking about some tune-ups for your database around the holiday season with the one and only Dan Stewart of Happy Grasshopper. Happy what? How many people don't know what Happy Grasshopper is? So Dan, you want to lead us off a little bit and tell us what Happy Grasshopper is first and foremost?
Well, sure. And how are you doing, Mike? It's great to see you, man.
Great to see you once again.
Happy belated Thanksgiving, my brother.
And happy Cyber Monday, as we just heard.
Yes,
Cyber Monday.
that's right. So. Cyber Monday, everyone. I love this. This is my favorite time of the webinar when we're making these connections and we see all these people jumping in. Like every second that goes by, we see more people get here. Absolutely love it. So for those of you who may not know, my name's Dan Stewart. I'm the founder of Happy Grasshopper. And for the past 10 years, we've been really focused on helping real estate agents find more opportunity from their databases. So, specifically, we send email, text messages, voicemail drops, handwritten cards. We kind of wrap our arms around that whole database monster and make sure that it's sending out opportunity for you. That's the role that we fill definitely.
And providing content, then, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a whole team of copywriters that do all the writing. So, you think about it, right? Like, I don't know how many agents you have now at Realty Group. You guys are amazing.
We're about 565 today.
565. That's awesome. Congratulations, by the way. That is no small achievement. Like, super well done. Super awesome. So, you've got an agent who maybe they're entering the business, maybe they're transferring from a different brokerage. Almost universally, there are people in their lives that they know that need to buy or sell real estate. And one of the most painful experiences an agent can have is learning that someone they know did business with someone else. Like, we never want that to happen.
Happens all the time. But we were talking about, Dan, right? Everybody just loves to be a real estate agent, to sit down and write tons of content and put tons of marketing together on their own. No, they don't, right? So that's where you come in. You're taking some of that off their plate, because let's face it doesn't always get done unless somebody can plug into a third party to help them.
Yeah. There's three things people really struggle with. First is just getting organized. And then it's, well, now that it's organized, what do I even say? Right? And then it's just maintaining the discipline while you're juggling all those balls and spinning all those plates in a career called real estate. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to keep all that going. So we're happy to lend a hand where we can. And I see this, I'm watching the chat fire off here. Hello, Jeff in Simi Valley. That's cool. We got Lou in Allentown and Janet in Galt, Brian in Houston, Maya in Greenville. This is cool. I love it, folks. Thank you so much for taking some time today to spend with us, because we are prepared to bring the heat. We are going to give you 5 really deliberate tune-ups that you need to put into impact right now. Like, there's no time to waste on this. We're already past Thanksgiving. There's so much awesome opportunity for you in the next few weeks of messaging. You just don't want to miss it, right? You do not. So
what a great time to connect with people too at this holiday season. This is the time where people, are so receptive to connection.
Yeah, definitely. If you think about it, there's really never a bad time to connect, but a lot of people are slowing down right now. The holiday mindset is starting to kick in, and they really will benefit from hearing from us. They absolutely will. I'm going to share a story with you guys here in a few minutes that I'm going to get goosebumps and I might even cry. So I'll warn you for that, right? If I get too weepy, you're just going to have to take over, Mike. Is that cool?
I got you.
Okay. All right, cool. Very cool. So if it's all right with you, what I'd like to do is share my screen and just go ahead and dive in. That'd be cool. All right, let's do it. So I'm going to share my second desktop here, and then I'm going to press play. So if you can confirm for me, guys, that you're seeing this all right, I would absolutely love that. Did this pop up okay?
You got it.
All right, sweet. So I noticed that you're far more attractive than the dude in the picture here, Mike. I don't even remember his name, the Stay Focused dude. What happened to Tristan today?
Yeah, you know what? He can't be here to argue that fact, but I'm going to go ahead and that victory.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in, guys. We're going to hit you right away with the very first tune-up. And, before we can really be prepared to make an impact in the world, we have to make an impact on ourselves first. So the first tip, the first tune-up is to direct your attention inward for a moment and just really think about the impact you want to make on the world. Like, some of you are walking around right now under the mistaken belief that people who know you do not want to hear from you. That is a mistake. Like, you need to get past that, right? You need to understand that wherever you've got a block in life, wherever you're wanting to work out and you're not, you're wanting to lose weight and you're not, you're wanting to save money and you're not, you're wanting to have a bigger business and you're not, it's because you haven't taken the moment you need to direct your energy internally and figure out why you're doing all this. Okay. It doesn't take long. It's not, we don't have to boil the ocean here. This is not rocket science. It's just intentional thinking in critical times that makes all the difference. And the reason that we do this is because we have to develop a well of emotional strength to see us through some of the stumbling blocks we'll encounter along the way. Like, Realty Group is what? You guys are 10 years old too, aren't you? Thereabouts?
Correct.
Okay. So, was it easy since day one? Have you ever had a real tough time, a change in conditions? Of course you have, right?
And also, we probably almost lost a business 3 different times over the years of building it. There were some scary moments.
Yeah. We're all going to encounter them, right? So let's not be surprised by that. And let's understand that the emotions that we bring to that is what helps us get through that situation, right? Emotion produces behavior in the human animal, in you and me and all the people we'll ever encounter in our lives. And, this is why television commercials work so hard, right? They want to hit us with an emotional impact and then introduce our product into that environment. That's an important thing to be able to do. Think of the Super Bowl commercials that we're going to see here before we know it. Millions and millions and millions of dollars are going to be invested in not just getting the camera angles right and recording the right script, but in taking the viewer on an emotional journey, right? It takes place over a real short period of time, a 30-second span, a 60-second commercial. And in that short amount of time, they need to deliver an emotional impact and then anchor that emotion to their product or service, right? So what I'm asking you to do is take these pathways in your brain that have already been carved there by a life of consuming media and use them for yourself. Like, go ahead and start with me right now by doing something very simple. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is give yourself a little forgiveness. Let's give ourselves some grace for a change, right? If you're walking around right now feeling guilty that you haven't organized your database yet, if you're feeling guilty that you haven't reached out and touched somebody in a way that really made a difference, we got to set that aside. We do. The number one thing that prevents people from having more success when it comes to really building a business based on their database is this internal block of, it's been so long since I touched base with them. Man, maybe it's been too long and it's going to hurt when I do.
Dan, can I touch on something, because this is so important. Working with real estate agents, all over the country, I see this. We all have these stories, these narratives we tell ourselves, it starts with a mindset. As you said, we all know we should be reaching out, but we all have these stories and narratives of why we don't. We convince ourselves for whatever reason that we should not reach out. And then, what you're talking about, forgive yourself, just self-kindness. The way we talk to ourselves, like the language we use to ourselves is so rough. Like, if you would never talk to another person that way, but you talk to yourself that way. Yeah. And I see that with real estate agents every single day.
It's a human trait. We all tend to be really tough on ourselves. And if we're gonna lead other people, we got to lead ourselves first. And this is really a fundamental step. Learn to speak to yourself in a kind way. And, if you are carrying any guilt right now because you haven't reached out to people, just let it go. Just do that, right? Just watch it float away in the distance, because it just doesn't matter. There are people out there who are going to be happy that you re-engage with them when you do. And, this is something we've seen over the decade we've been in business. So I can bore everybody to death with, testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of people who had been hesitating to reach out. And then when they do, they get this huge surprise that there's money there waiting. Like, I think there's this sense that the only reason that sometimes we reach out in real estate is because of a monetary gain. And, to me, that is like that's the silver lining, is the profit that you get to earn when you reach out to these people. The real gift is much deeper. The real gift is the human connection that you get to have. Because, guess what? All this stuff that you're trying to earn, all these experiences that you want to have, they're all going to go away. Like our health, our wealth, everything is at risk all the time. And yet our relationships can carry us through everything. So, speaking as an entrepreneur who built a multi-million-dollar business, employed 100 people, and had a change in legislation make all that go away. I'm telling you, like, life has pitfalls. They come and we don't know when. We do know that our relationships can really be forever if we nurture them. So how
often do you see this, Dan? You see this with real estate agents all the time, where they kind of just wait for someone to reach out to them. They don't go and make the efforts, the intentional, proactive efforts to do the outreach. They really wait for somebody to pick the phone to call them, and that's their sales pipeline. How often do you see?
Yeah, well, and I mean, we see that a lot, right? That's the reason people come to us, is they're driving home one day and they see another agent's sign up in front of their neighbor's house, and they go, what am I doing here? Like, it's those moments of pain, I think, that can produce the change. Sometimes we're more motivated by that pain than we are about the prosperity that maybe exists for us. But, for me, my life's mission isn't about earning more money. It's about bringing the world closer together through conversation. That's the real joy of making these connections. And, I just like to provide the conduit. So
what you're really saying is that the transactions, the GCI earned from the commissions, really is a byproduct of solid relationship building.
Yeah.
And I think what agents do is they put that, in a different context, thinking that they're hunting for dollars, and they feel disingenuous. So they don't want to make the call. They feel like they're being, used car salesman, for the lack of a better term, and they just don't feel authentic about it.
Right. I mean, we tend to cringe when somebody tries to sell us. Nobody wants to feel that way. Correct. And, as an entrepreneur, I can tell you, I spent too many years of my life focused more on earning a profit than on providing value. And everything is so much easier when you just say, none of that matters. All that matters is I have to produce real value. And, for me, with my ambitions and what I do with my company, it's about making meaningful connections happen where they ordinarily wouldn't. So I'm going to share a story that just now happened, and I'm printing this on the screen. I've changed a couple of things here to keep some things private, right? So we just got this message today. Story is a member of my coaching staff here, and she received this message. I'll read it to everyone. It says, I hope when you read this, you had an excellent Thanksgiving. I need to share what happened tonight with one of the contacts that received my recorded voice message. It was a friend of my late husband's who had served with Daniel in Iraq. This poor guy, in a series of 1 week, had his fiance end things with him and had his best friend commit suicide 2 days prior. He was having an emotional breakdown and got my automated message you had me record. So I'm going to pause here for a sec, because if you don't know, part of what we do for members is build these communication plans. And, our member would record a voicemail, and then we can deliver that intelligently to the right people at the right time. That's what's happening here. So they go on and say, long story short, Jacob called me to talk, and he was not okay. I met up with him and saw how bad he was doing, and I ended up taking him to the emergency room because I was afraid he was going to self-harm. After 7 hours, he was admitted for evaluation. I share this because had that automated call not gone out, he may not have called me or anyone, and the outcome could have been very bad. This helped me reconnect with someone at a very critical moment and taught me a valuable lesson about really reaching out to people. We get so caught up in our own lives, we often forget to look in on others except when we need something. Happy Grasshopper saved the life tonight of a decorated Army sergeant with a Purple Heart. The events of today are still kind of sinking in, and I will never be the same after all this. But what happened today was possibly the best possible outcome, and I owe your company a very big thank you. So,
That's a deep one. And notice it had nothing to do with commission dollars. It had to do with being in front of somebody at the right place and right time.
we have thousands of stories where people reach out and say, oh my gosh, there was this deal hiding or that deal hiding. But you know, the mission for me is more about bringing the world closer together. And that's what we achieved here in this particular circumstance. You know, it's so easy to forget that there are people who are starving right now. You know, there's someone who's mourning the loss of the person they love more than their next breath. Like, we never know where or when people are in their lives and where we can show up and make a big difference. All we know for sure is that if we make the effort, it's more likely than not going to lead to positive things. So I practice what I preach. You know, I use my service. I have a group of people that I reach out to and I want to communicate with on a regular basis. And I'm going to teach you about some of that here in a moment. But, you know, getting back to the thrust here, we got to stay on task, right? Because, you know, tune-up one is super important. We got to start with our mindset first, right? So it doesn't always have to be about the dollars, right? It doesn't always have to be, oh, it's a marketing thing, I'm supposed to do it, let's tick the box and say it's done. It could literally be the thing that makes a massive difference in someone who's made a contribution to all of us. So, you know, whether it's us or any other means, please reach out to people. They need to hear from you. You need to show up for them.
You know, I think what happens with some of the outreach too is people get so married to the outcome, not the process. So if they do one or two outreaches and it doesn't have that great of a outcome, you know, I mean, the conversation is short, they feel like they can bug somebody, they quit. So, you know, staying married to the process, staying on your contact over and over and over again, just stay on it. You're going to find amazing and positive things happen, from transactions to connections to relationships to opportunity, but it's staying on that process.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. So I'm going to move into the second tune-up here, which is organization. You know, once someone decides to take action and really communicate with people, this is the next thing they're going to have to confront is, oh my God, what do I do with all these contacts I have all over the place? It's such a mess. So we're going to boil this down to its easiest, most simple components. There are only two kinds of people on the planet, folks. They know us or they don't. That's it, right? So maybe I'm an agent who generates a ton of leads. I might have thousands of contacts in my database, but a contact is worthless. It's a relationship that's priceless. So having contacts is good. Having relationships is far, far better. So what we want to focus on is taking those people at the outer reaches, those leads we're just generating. We want to pull them closer and closer and closer until we truly have that relationship and that connection with them. Now, the biggest opportunity exists with people who already know you, like you, and trust you, right? These people who are already your super fans. So that's the group that we're really going to focus on for today's session, are these people who know you, right? So the people who know you are your past clients, your sphere of influence, your close friends, your family. And yet that doesn't mean they're all organized in a database. So you need to take a moment and just go, oh gosh, well, my contacts are in all these different places. I've got to pull them together. So LCA Nurture makes this super easy for you, of course. We pull the contacts in, we automatically deduplicate them, we title case correct them, and then we scrub them against a larger data set. So there's a lot that goes into that to make sure that's cleaned up. So wherever your contacts are, that's okay. They can easily be pulled out and assembled for some simple communication. So I hope that that's really clear, because we tend to overcomplicate things, I think. I can't tell you how many clients I've helped over the years, Mike, who have like hundreds and hundreds of different categories in their database. They have so many different categories that now they don't know what to say to anyone. When really, if you think, okay, these are leads, they don't really know me. I should probably focus more on real estate with these folks. These are past clients and sphere of influence. They already love me. I don't really need to always talk about real estate with these folks. I can be more human and friendly, right? So just those two simple separations make a big difference.
But I think the confusion on that, where people think they have to talk about real estate with those that they have the relationship with, is part of the hesitancy of why they don't want to reach out. They feel like they're disingenuous there. Now, if you look at the stats every single year, relationship transactions versus non-relationship transactions, looking at the amount of referrals that happen because of a relationship or repeat business, either buyer or seller, you're talking upwards of more than 50% of every transaction in the nation happens because of a relationship. And yet that's where our biggest hesitancy is to reach out because, I don't want to bug my people.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I get that. That makes sense to me. I don't want to reach out and bug people. Mm-hmm. Like if the only time I ever reach out to you is to say, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to sell? Someone who's ready to invest? Like, oh yeah, you're bugging people. Like you've got to have another reason to reach out. And that's the perfect segue into the next thing we're going to talk about, which is that framework. This is your tune-up, right? This is the framework you need when you're trying to figure out what it is you say to people when you send messaging. So let's break this down. This is the right number of touches per year, 41 touches per year for your past clients in your sphere, those people who know you. And the breakdown I'll provide here is 17 non-salesy emails per year. This is not, here are the latest market stats. This is not, are you ready to buy or sell? This is simply interesting content that you can use to start a conversation about. And you math geeks already know 17 touches per year is once every 3 weeks, once every 21 days, which our data has shown us that gets the highest open rates and the lowest unsubscribe rates for email. And the rates, by the way, like in my account, I'm well over 50% open rate on all my emails. If we look at Chirp, LCA Nurture type accounts, we're seeing that across the board. It's well above 50%.
But I think that's huge when you talk about that, Dan, because traditionally email open rates are 10 to 15 tops these days.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big differential.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and it's important to acknowledge why. Like it's not just technology. It's not like we have some super secret way of delivering content. The real difference is the content is the type of thing people want to open. And again, we're not trying to broadcast here to everybody on the planet. We're trying to broadcast to a maximum of 250 people who really know us, right? So that's what makes the biggest difference in those open rates. Like you've got people in your life. I've got people in my life. It doesn't matter what time of day they send us an email. It doesn't matter what the subject line is. It's because of who they are that we're going to open that content. And that's because there's a relationship there that is of the quality where we want to nurture it, right? So that's what I'm trying to create for all of our members, is that recognition from the people receiving the messages that, hey, this is someone I care about, someone I really want to hear from. Okay. And as strong as email is, even right now in 2020, it's not the only thing you should be doing. So in addition to that, we need to deliver 6 to 12 text messages per year. And I'll give you the breakdown. So the first 6, 4 of them are quarterly lead harvesting messages. That's a quick text like, hey, Mike, do you know anyone in your neighborhood thinking of moving? ? Like you'll get replies from people who go, yeah, or hey, why are you asking? Right? That starts a conversation for you that can lead to transactions. So those, again, lead harvesting texts 4 times per year. The other 2 in the first 6 are their birthday and the transaction anniversary if they're your past client, right? So everyone's got a birthday. If they're your past client, they've got a transaction. You probably have those dates or you can very easily get them. And then you record one message and it just drops out as it should automatically throughout the course of the year. So that's 6 to 12 texts. I've got the other 6 I need to cover. Those are holiday messages, right? So we just celebrated Thanksgiving last week. I sent my Thanksgiving message on Saturday, right? Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday. I sent mine the Saturday after because I wanted to stay out all the fray of everything else. I didn't want to interrupt the day. And I got tremendous reply to that, by the way. So the final part of the framework are voicemail drops. And you'll see it's the same pattern here. It's the same 6 to 12. And the reason that we have these 2 match is so we can do something that, if you guys attended my last webinar, you'll be familiar with this concept. It's called attack by combination. You don't want to show up just, it's just an email or it's just a text, when you can couple these things together and make a much larger impact from it. So, Mike, I read online that you have some boxing history. Is that right?
I do. I boxed for many, many years.
Well, then you know all about this at a level that most people won't get. But
like I'm looking at this guy's face here that's getting punched in the face, and I know what that feels like. Not everybody knows that. I know exactly what he's feeling right now.
Yeah, that's a painful feeling for sure. I studied Jeet Kune Do for years and years. And, one thing I always loved about it is we sparred for real. Mm-hmm. Like there were no pulled punches. And it teaches you really quickly. Either you're going to not make the same mistake again, or you're just going to stop showing up.
We always say, and as boxing is a sport, a lot of sports you play, but you do not play boxing. There's no playing. There's no
right.
playing.
Nope. It's not a drinking sport. It doesn't. Let's have a few beers and box. It'll be fine.
Nope.
Not a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to cover some of these ABCs with you. This is your 4th tune-up. So I'll use the example of my own sends here on this past holiday. So emailed on Friday, followed with a voicemail on Saturday. That's a simple ABC move, and it really increases the response rate. So I sent my email and I got a bunch of replies. I got about 15, 20 replies from that email. And then the next day, my voicemail goes out, and I've already had 2 calls today with people I sent messaging to who said things like, man, I'm so glad you reached out. I would love to connect with you. What time do you have on Monday or later in the week? And these sorts of things are easy for you to create, right? The technology today makes these things very easy, and LCA Nurture has been totally designed to make this easy. So the concept of why this works is really simple. It's just a matter of putting together the 2 parts, and it's a 2-part combination here. So the example I'm giving now is email on Friday, voicemail on Saturday. I'll give you one of my favorite examples for birthdays. I like to text before their birthday and send a voicemail on their birthday, right? And I'll explain why I do this. Probably all of us are active on Facebook, right? If we're here at this webinar today, we're all active on Facebook. And that means that every time we have a birthday, we're getting tons of these messages that come in. And I don't want my message to get lost in that. Like I want the person I'm reaching out to feel like my message actually penetrated, like it made an impact. So the kind of text message I like to send about a week before their birthday is, hey, Mike, just realized your birthday is coming up. Am I the first to wish you a happy birthday? Question mark, right? And you're like, oh, damn, you probably are, right? And you actually reply. We have a nice little text chat because of that. And then on your birthday, you get a voicemail from me saying, hey, it's me, Dan. Just wanted to reach out and tell you happy birthday. Hope you guys are awesome. Hope you're doing something fun. After things calm down, reach back out. I'd love to reconnect. And
the funny thing about that, I've been doing that for years before. I mean, that's the beauty of Facebook and birthdays, right? But I've been doing that for years, going before someone's birthday, whether it's a day, 2 days, or a week before, and reaching up to say happy birthday, because on the birthday day, they get hundreds of people doing the same thing. You just get lost in the shuffle. But when you're before the birthday, you stand out. For me, that's always been huge. Yeah,
whether it's a holiday, a birthday, there tends to be a focus on that particular day. So, if we're a little before it or a little after it, we can really make a big difference. So those are the tips here in section number 4, is to definitely learn your ABCs. Just set it up that way instead of thinking, oh, it's a new month, I need to send an email. No, think how you can couple whatever that content is with a text or a voicemail that complements it. And you'll see that the engagement rate will really grow for you. Mm-hmm. So that's tip number 4. Now, tip number 5 is to take action. Like, now is the time. What are you waiting for?
Well, I think what it is, a lot of people are looking, it's like, they're looking for the perfect plan, right? I always like the saying, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Right. It's almost like you got to build the plane while flying it. They're worried about, I don't know exactly what to say, what to do. I'm going to think about this longer. They get that whole, analysis paralysis thing, paralysis by analysis, and they just don't act. They don't think it. So what's your advice on that?
Well, you just have to do it. You have to say, you know what, right now in this moment, this is my time to do this. Okay. So think about what we've covered today. Just, 4 things so far. This is the 5th. We talked about our mindset first, right? And, if the economic benefit is not big enough to motivate you, let the humanitarian reason be large enough to motivate you. I mean, who do you know in your life, someone you really would be sad if something bad were going on and you weren't there to support them? Like, they need to hear from you, right? So don't let another day go by without taking action towards being there for them. Okay, there's this mad magic that takes place in the universe. It's absolutely stunning. But, salespeople tend to be very goal focused, very near term. What's the thing right now that I need to focus on? And, you can spend a decade and find yourself constantly focused on the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. And yet if you step back and you take some time to focus on the relationship and the people, pretty soon you don't have to worry about that next deal, right? Because they're constantly reaching out to you. They're constantly referring you. And that's the greatest thing that you can really give yourself or do for yourself or do for your business is build the kind of relationships with people that can survive every and any market condition. Okay.
I think too, though, Dan, I want to bring this up because we talked about mindset, but I really want to touch on this for a second because, if you are selling real estate on any level, there's somebody in your office or in your marketplace that's doing fantastic. And you're looking at them going, why are they doing so well? They're not really that smart. They're not that charming. They do just a lot of business though. And, the secret behind that, I think everybody thinks that about someone. The secret behind that is the successful people have the same thought processes everybody does. They got the same doubts, the same fears, the same hesitancies, but the difference is they don't let that get in the way of them acting. They'll actually act in spite of it. So if you're waiting for the perfect time to feel the perfect motivation, the perfect level of inspiration, you're going to be sitting there a long time. You just have to act regardless of your thoughts and regardless of what's holding you back. That's the difference between the people that have really dialed this in and got this versus the ones that don't.
Yeah, they actually do it.
Correct. Yeah, and they're not superhuman. They have the same exact, mental hurdles to go through that you do, but they're able to separate themselves from those thoughts and actually take action.
And it does make a huge difference. It does. So Tristan and Nick and I have known each other for years, like almost a decade. And when LabCoats was just starting out, we were actually their very first sponsor, right? And so my company grew like a weed, LCA grew like a weed. And it took us all this time, unnecessary. Like, I'm so ashamed it's taken all this time to get to the point where we said, you know what, let's find a way to really help agents at a deeper level. So, it's just been a couple of months now that we've introduced LCA Nurture. So we've taken the very best parts of Happy Grasshopper and we've put that content inside this system just for members of LCA. So this is super amazing. Like, once every 3 weeks, we notify you it's time to send a new email. Our staff has written all this great content for you. You get to go through and preview and read it and decide what message you're going to send. We prompt you to send those text messages, those voicemail drops, and you even have the option of sending handwritten cards through our system. So, when you do this, like, you're going to have some clear expectations. So, first thing is, what's it going to take to actually set this up? And it's going to be about 10 minutes of effort on your part, maybe 15 or 20 if, you've got distractions going on. But it doesn't take very much time at all to get your account lined up. And before you know it, you'll be sending that very first message from the system. And that's when you're going to be stunned, because you will get replies nearly instantly after you send your first message. We see this over and over and over again. And, here's someone from the community who put just 3 contacts in just to test it. Like, I don't really know about this. I'm just going to test it with 3 contacts. Got our first reply in 12 minutes. So, there's so much reason to do this, right? There's so much reason to do it.
What do you think that does for an agent's confidence level, though, when they've struggled to really have an outreach program, they finally put it into somebody else's hands and it delivers quickly? What do you think that does to their confidence over the next 2, 3, 6, 12 months?
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, Mike. I like that you bring that up, because so many times in life, we think something is going to work. Like, we hope something is going to work, and we spend our time and our dollars, and then it doesn't freaking work.
Right.
And that is so incredibly frustrating. So I'm very proud of the way that we've built this, because it's not like we're guessing. We're crunching the numbers all the time. I've delivered hundreds of millions of messages for agents. And, that data tells us exactly the sorts of things we need to send. It tells us how frequently we should send them. It tells us whether it should be long or short. It tells us what kind of subject lines we should use. The data is the thing that makes all the difference. I'm going to mention Billy Harris. Nobody here knows Billy. He was a huge mentor of mine, the CEO of a company called SemperMed. And he just drilled into my brain as a younger entrepreneur. He said, Dan, if you got good data, you can make good decisions. It's that easy. So I'm going to give you some data here. 99% deliverability. Okay. If we look system-wide across our entire platform, our email open rate is nearly double the industry average. And in LCA Nurture, it's already above 50%. Because again, we're not sending messages here to everyone. It's people who know you, your past clients, and your sphere of influence. So the reply rates there are really, really high. We're seeing over 10% for email and over 16% for text. Okay. Now there's a difference between a reply and a reply. Like, an out of office message could be counted as a reply if we wanted to cheat the numbers, but that's not meaningful. The conversation is the meaningful thing. So that's what we're talking about here. Part of understanding whether this makes sense or not has to do with its value. So we are going to do a little math here right now. If we look up what NAR tells us, average GCI per site is about $6,000. Is that true in your market, Mike?
It's dead on.
Dead on. Okay, perfect. So, if an agent were doing 12 transactions per year, that'd be $72,000 in GCI, right? And, 12 transactions per year is not too much to ask from LCA Nurture.
Well, let's look at it this way too, Dan. I mean, you're talking about probably 60+% of people are both buying and selling. It's 2 transactions in one. Right. So, when you look at those numbers, you could be talking about 8 different people for 12 transactions. Yeah. Yeah. We've got lots of examples of that where people reach out and say, hey, just curious, what's going on? Was my home worth more than it was? So the agent's selling it, and then of course, helping them buy the next one. So, if we had a way, and we do, of helping agents earn this, we have to ask ourselves, well, what should we charge for that? What is the value? And we kind of know, right? We kind of know, because if we look at what agents will spend for a $6,000 payday, a lot of places, they'll spend half of that, right? On a referral, they'll spend a big chunk of money. And, I know at Realty Group, your agents aren't burdened with those costs, right? That's an amazing thing that you guys are able to provide to your agents. So as costly as these things are here, it's still way less than hiring a copywriter. Have you ever hired a professional copywriter, Mike? Yes.
Yeah. They get paid.
They do.
Right? Copywriting is a no joke career. If you're good at it, you get paid, period. And there's a site, it's kind of the litmus test across the copywriting world. It's called Copy Hackers. This is where your Silicon Valley startups go to get the best copywriters to create the content that helps their startup really take off. And to hire them to do the kind of writing we do for our members would cost a minimum of $10,000, right? That's just the copy. And then you still need a way to send it, okay?
And that doesn't depend on, you selling or closing anything. That's just an upfront cost.
That's just the cost. Yeah, I mean, that's nuts. So, part of my value prop, part of why I do this, why I get up every day, is because I want to help people. Like, that's the driving thing for me. So I don't want to charge anybody prices like this. I want to just look at what works and help people do more of it. So, to do that, we've taken LCA Nurture and we've priced it at $47 to start and $470 per the year. And that includes all those 41 touches, right?
Is that a one-time payment or is that monthly?
That's one-time payment. The annual plan is one-time payment. If people pay monthly, it's $47 per month.
Gotcha.
So, looking at the ROI on this from just one transaction, if they earn $6K, like, sell me the stock that costs $1 and gives me $11.60 back.
As I pointed out, even on the $72,000 model that you pointed out there, that's really 8 different people. When you're looking at your whole SOI, your whole sphere of influence, how many people are in there?
It can be far.
It's easy to get in.
We have countless clients doing 50, 60 transactions per year that are only working their database.
Correct.
They're not buying expensive leads. They're investing in their relationships.
I was one of those agents. I did sign calls when I was in production. I was doing about 50 transactions a year from relationships and about 20 to 25 from sign calls and leads, back in the day. But like, I spent all my time and energy. I spent $99 a year on a newsletter, and I just kept in touch with people. But people fail to keep in touch.
It's startling. I mean, it's like, you don't have to do anything really hard here. Like, it doesn't take very much effort to come up with 47 to start and $470 for the year when it can have, these outsized returns. It's crazy. I mean, all 12 transactions, $1 in would equal $139 out. So providing value is super, super important for me. And also being able to say, look, here's the proof. Like, this is not me just saying this. I'm not just some guy on the internet selling more garbage. I like to show real life examples. So we'll talk about Randall Martin here. He's a client of ours in Houston. He's at CBNA, by the way. I don't know if you know those guys. They'd be a good connection for you. They have a similar business model. So we provide our service to their brokerage. And Randall's one of our clients there who sent this message. Now, this is a perfect example of an email that's non-salesy. Okay, we're sharing this interesting story about Blockbuster. I don't know how old you are, Mike. You look younger than me, but I love taking my kids to Blockbuster back in the day.
Back when I was in high school, I get done working for the night on a Friday. It'd be Blockbuster, rent a couple videos. Remember the old VHSs? Not DVDs, but legit VHSs. That's how I grew up.
Yep. So I kind of love this story, right? We've got Blockbuster that's taken their last location. They rent it out as an Airbnb rental, and you can watch all the videos you want for $4 a night. Like, it's just kind of a fun little interesting story that will make somebody smile. And then if you look at the close here, this is what we call a call to conversation. Speaking of real estate changes, do you know anyone who's thinking of moving, or even someone we could convince to move if they got enough money for their home? Right? So Randall sends this message and he gets this reply. And, similar to what we were talking about, this is someone who's saying, what do you think my home is worth? Mm-hmm. Like, there's these projects going on. It's been a little while, right? So this is leading to an opportunity for Randall to list their property. And then literally 30 minutes later, he gets a second email from another client that closed in 2017. Right? So from this one email about Blockbuster, of all things, he's got between $1.5 and $2 million of turnarounds for the sell, buy, and both. Like, come on. You just don't know when people are going to be ready to do anything. So your job is to make sure that you're showing up in their life often enough that they remember you when it's time they want to do something.
So I want to share a story too. I don't know how much time you got left, but I'd like to share a story I think is pretty relevant here. And it's something I saw about real estate and real estate agents and how we run our business, and I think it applies. A few years ago, I went into this little tiny restaurant. There's like 7 or 8 tables. That's all they had. They had one waitress and like a part-time bartender that you saw for a minute, but then he was gone. He may have been cooking food too. I don't know what he was doing, but I sat there and it took it an hour and a half to turn those tables. The waitress was trying to do everything by herself. You know, she was great, but she could not really provide great service. I remember sitting there with the person I'm with, and I looked at her and said, I don't see how this place is going to stay open. They can't turn tables fast enough, get people in and out. They can't provide the service. Well, a year later, they were closed. But that night, it reminded me of how real estate agents run their business. This woman was trying to pour the drinks, basically go get the food, probably doing the dishes, bussing her own tables. She wasn't leveraging anything because she didn't have the ability to do so. What I see in real estate is we do this all the time, almost with a scarcity mindset. Like, I don't want to pay somebody else to handle this portion of my business. I can do it myself. I don't want to pay somebody to handle that portion of my business because I can do it better myself. What I'm seeing here is for the ROI you're describing, it's very true. If you farm some of these pieces out to let somebody else handle them, then that waitress would be doing what she does best, forming, great quality relationships with the consumers, getting big tips, turning tables in a half an hour. You know what I'm saying? And that place would still be open today. But I see this mentality with real estate agents all the time.
Yeah. I love the story that you told, especially because I waited tables and bartended from high school all the way through college. And you're right. You can't do it all. You need someone to bust the tables after you and reset it. You need somebody to mix the drinks at the bar. You need somebody to cook the great food. It's a collaboration, right? You don't have to do everything yourself, and you shouldn't do everything yourself. And with this crazy, stupid Cyber Monday sale, there's just no excuse left. There's none. So I want to stress this, right? It is 2:47 p.m. right now. This sale ends today. This will not be available tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you reach out and say, oh, I really want it. We can't do this for everybody, obviously. So it's 50% off today only. And I see Tessa has posted the link for you guys. I'll put it on the screen here. And, you definitely need to get over there to the website and take advantage of that offer. This will go away and it will not be back after today. For those of you who may have been paying attention for a minute, we're still including our special bonuses here. So if you're one of the first 50 who do this, and you choose the annual plan, this is not available on the monthly plan, we're including Revaluate totally free. So I know you guys use Revaluate at Realty Group.
We love Revaluate.
How awesome is Revaluate? They're
Revaluate
amazing.
is the bomb.
Yes, yes, they are. And what they do, for anyone who's watching that might not know, is they use big data. Like, they look at your contacts and they scrub all the data they can find to indicate the likelihood of that person moving within the next 6 months.
What they really do too, the predictive analytics are based on people's life events, not how long they've owned the home or mortgage data. It's literally death, divorce, diamonds, diapers, diplomas.
Yes, I love it. The 4 Ds.
Yeah, so it's all the Ds. It's based on life events that you don't know they're going through, but the life events that trigger a move. That's the power of it.
Yep. So inside your LCA Nurture account, for every contact, you'll see their move score right next to their name. And on the dashboard inside your account will alert you of new people who are coming onto that list. So we want to make it just stupid easy to leverage every little piece of data we can to help you have more conversations with people who want to buy, sell, or invest real estate.
And I'd like to add too, so what I like to add too, Dan, is you just kind of described the cost. That's the cost of the platform, of the system. But I'd like to invite everybody to think about the cost of an action. The cost of an action, if you don't have a system of true follow-up and true value to provide great content, and just a system, if it's just completely irregular and whenever you feel like it, your cost of inaction is going to be measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars over your career versus a couple $100 a year.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Right now is the time to take advantage of this. And so I'm going to put it up here again and just anchor this for you one last time, guys. You have to take action. You have to do it. I can't do it for you. Mike can't do it for you. Tristan and Nick, they can't do it for you. You know, we can provide all this great technology. We can stuff it full of content. We can show you thousands of examples of how effective it is. And yet right now in this moment, the thing that's preventing you from having the results you'd like to have is that little switch in your brain that says, I'm going to take action or I'm not.
So
right?
I'd like to invite everybody to think about this. I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, that one key component of successful people, one commonality of successful people is they make decisions very quick, and then they're very slow to reverse course on that and go a different direction. The flip side of that, less successful people make decisions very slowly, and they're very quick to abandon those decisions once they implement them. So think about your mindset. Are you going to be the one that overthinks it and does nothing? Remember, you get the same fears and doubts and everything else that everybody else that does, but the people that are successful just take action. That's the difference.
It makes a huge difference. As you say this, I'm thinking about in my career, some of my favorite clients that we've ever served, some of the largest deals we've ever had, they didn't take weeks or months or years. It was like one call. Oh my God, this is amazing. Where have you guys been all my life? Let's make this happen. And
like I said, you got to build the plane as you're flying it. You just got to make the decision, go with it, and just stick with it. Follow the process. Be married to the process, not the outcome. The outcome will happen when you're doing the process.
It will. Absolutely. So super cool. I wanted to just take the screen share off for a moment so I can see your face more fully, and also the chat, because if there are any questions come in, and I certainly want to get those answered.
Let's see. I don't think we have no questions. I can't see. I think we got them all.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, sweet. So, Jeanette Nelson has a question here. And, you know, Jeanette and whoever else, I'm happy to hang out and answer questions here for a few minutes. Newsletter options. Let's talk about newsletters. That, to me, is the best example of something agents think they need to do that doesn't really produce great results. I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, it feels like, oh my gosh, there's so much information. I need to communicate it to people. And what we see when we look at the actual data is those members of ours for whom we're sending newsletters are seeing some of their lowest engagement rates on that effort. So, you know, what I would encourage you to do is to think about what the ultimate goal really is. Conversations lead to contracts. Just informing them of what's going on in your market is not enough. You have to have conversations with them about it. So instead of a big, long newsletter, take one little point. Did you see what happened with Home Spike in, I don't know, Maple Grove? Like, we'll make up a place. Just one little bit of data, and then ask a question about it. Hey, I saw this in the current trend, and I thought we should talk about this because it'll have an impact on you in the coming years or months or weeks, right?
Let's be honest,
that's a better approach.
Let's be honest too, Dan. We're talking about an age that we're really fighting for attention, right? I mean, between social media and everything else out there, I mean, look at your screen time, how much you spend on your smartphone, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a fight for attention. So why is it so important to be really working the people that already know you? Because you already have influence with them. You're going to capture their attention way better. You send a long newsletter. Like I said, I was a guy that sent newsletters, and I sent them maybe half the time. I'd get them delivered and forget to send them. I did all my business because I actually built relationships. You know, you have to be able to capture and hold attention long enough that you're top of mind to continue to build that relationship.
Well, and this is a pretty good segue, because let's say I'm a brand new lead, like NAR, our data, it tells us that a typical lead is a long way away from wanting to actually have their transaction. So, you know, they don't know you yet. Sending them a newsletter in the interim, that shows them something about you. You're consistent, you're professional. At least you have some systems and processes put in place. So I'm not 100% against the idea of having that content there. But now let's look at the other side of this opportunity chain. You've got all these past clients in Sphere who know you and love you. And if all you're doing is sending them a newsletter, you're saying all that stuff we experienced together, the peaks and valleys of your transaction, all that's over. Here's more just real estate dreck over and over.
You know, I think people feel ghosted. That's part of the problem. Like, we think we're bugging them, but they feel ghosted. We had this great relationship with them through the transaction, They don't see you disappear. You completely ghost them, and they're like, wait a second, maybe they just did want the commission because I don't hear from them unless I'm actually going to be doing business.
And then you're acting like the typical salesperson you're afraid to be.
Correct. That's the problem. But I will say this, to NAR, to your NAR data you're talking about, the reality is, we've got aspirational buyers. They're not ready to transact for a long time. They're just sitting there in the privacy of their own home, maybe coming across a Facebook lead once in a while, maybe want to know the price of that property. They've got a problem to solve. Their house is too small, too far from work, but they're not ready to buy a long shot to move. They don't want somebody they don't know trying to call them 2 times a month and, get them out looking at houses. So some of that stuff with newsletter and basic content, you're right, content, that's kind of what they need. They don't want a really influential conversation, but your past clients and your SOI, that's a different story.
It is. It's much more intimate. We know, we went to battle together called My Real Estate Transaction. Like, we've been bonded in warfare. Like, there's a relationship there that it just can't be disrespected. And I do see some more questions coming in. I want to get to Dave's question here. He's asking if we have the ability to check open rates for emails. And yes, of course, we report on absolutely everything. Opens, clicks, unsubscribes, hard bounces, soft bounces. It's all there right inside your account. And we even send you a daily hot sheet, which basically says, hey, Dave, here are the 62 people that engaged with your email yesterday. And that hot sheet that we send you, that should be your, hey, I think I'll make some calls to these people today.
Well, right? You mentioned reevaluate. For me, I'm always looking at smart lists. I'm always looking at, if I've only got time to do 30 minutes of actual conversation today, and it's going to take me, 10 dials to get one conversation traditionally, how do I know who to spend my half an hour actually trying to get a hold of? My time's limited. What's my best chance to get a hold of the right person?
Right.
I'm always trying to figure that out rather than just taking a machine gun approach and just spraying the crowd. I want the sniper approach, hitting the right people at the right time.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because it reminds me of the other perspective. Like, we can chase all the time. We can try to capture them, or we can attract them. Right? That's a choice that you have to make at some point in your career. And when you've got the relationship base, it's always attracting, because, you will have people who refuse to let their friends and family use anyone but you. I love my real estate agent. She is amazing. And I feel that way about her. I would never allow someone I cared about to not use her. I would push for that. So, that's what she's earned, because she's done an amazing job for me over 2 transactions, right? She earned that. And yet, if she fails to reach out and let me know that she also values me, I might forget.
You're going to feel ghosted. If you look at how many people say in the data that they've used the same agent twice, it's in the 70+%, yet only 12% do. And that's not the consumer's fault. That's our fault.
Yep.
So we've got just 2 minutes left. Is there any last closing thoughts that we want to go through?
Well, I think, it would probably be useful for us. I see we've got the link there a few times in the chat. That's important. I didn't mention this, but I'm someone who stands behind every single thing that we do at our company. So if you decide to take advantage of this offer and you don't love it, you have 30 days to let us know. And for any reason, we'll refund 100% of your investment. That's awesome. I know that's all over the website, but I just can't say enough how important it is to me to bring value to the world rather than just try to extract profit. And I think, having that kind of a guarantee is a way to express that.
Love it. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this amazing conversation we've had with Dan. Hope you guys got some ideas, got some inspiration. Now you know how to get a hold of Dan and LCA Nurture. That's great. Anything else before we sign off? Dan, I think I'm good to go.
Happy belated, my brother. I really, really appreciate your joining us today, and thank you for having me.
Had a great time. See ya.
Take care. Bye, everybody.